welcome to the Hibiscus Children's Center show. This month is April, and we have an opportunity to talk about Child Abuse Prevention Month. Today I have two guests with me, Caroline
Hello.
and Chloe. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
We're doing great.
So we're going to talk about Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Yes. So every April we come together to commemorate Child Abuse Prevention Month and Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Thousands of people come together to promote education in the community, awareness, and really just talk about it and what child abuse is and how we can prevent that from happening in our communities.
Well, that's a great opportunity for us to share what we do at Hibiscus Children's Center. We've been in our community, as most people know, over 30 years. We started in 1985 and we opened up the Levon Tilton 24-hour emergency shelter. Can you tell us a little bit about the shelter?
So the shelter, it is a house. We are able to shelter 36 kids. Each kid that comes to the shelter, we provide an assessment to them and to see what their needs are. Every kid that comes to us has been abused, abandoned, or neglected. So you can see that a kid that comes to us and has incurred such experiences, they would need a lot of services. So what we do is assess them, and we would determine, what their school needs are as far as their education. A lot of kids that come to the shelter, they are far behind in their school. A lot of them haven't been to school in a long time, or they're missing a lot of days. We have an education coordinator who works directly with our school. Our home school is Jensen Beach Elementary. And they get that child enrolled in school and assist with that child every step of the way. We also have mental health therapists that work with the children to address the trauma that they've experienced. So they meet with them individually every week. They are there daily just to provide that support to them. The staff that work with our kids, they are there to supervise them, but they also understand the trauma that they've experienced and are able to help them cope when they're experiencing, any type of emotional distress.
Wow.
So we really provide an overlay of services to our kids at the shelter, and I think we do a really great job.
Now, what's the age group and how many kids do we have at the shelter? Let's remind our audience.
So the age range that we can accept there is 0 to 17 or 0 to 15. We've actually expanded the ages. It used to be 0 to 12, but we do accept up to 15 years old because we find that a lot of sibling groups come to the shelter and they might be over 12, and so we want to keep them together. And then currently we have 35 kids at the shelter, so we are almost at capacity.
Wow, so 35 kids at the shelter. That's a lot of kids.
That's a lot of kids. You can imagine, what it looks like on a day-to-day basis and the coordination that takes place to manage, supervising and caring for that many kids as far as, providing food and, activities, keeping them busy, getting their homework done. We have tutoring. The community offers so much support. We have a lot of dedicated volunteers that come to the shelter that help the kids with their homework, read to them. They do laundry. They cook meals. They just are present and really help us out at the shelter.
Oh, that's neat to hear. So we have a special guest, Chloe. We're really thrilled to have you here with us.
Thank you.
So, well, we're glad you're here too. So Caroline and I, obviously, we can talk about the programming because we both work for Hibiscus Children's Center, but you have a different relationship with us.
Yeah.
So tell us your relationship. How are you a part of the Hibiscus family?
I was placed at Hibiscus, I believe, the first time when I was 11. I was removed from my first foster placement because my foster mother choked me.
Oh.
Go figure, right?
Yeah.
So after being removed from that first placement, I was placed at the shelter for my second placement, which was now, I was kind of worried because my first placement, it was like I got choked.
Right, yeah.
So, but it turned out to be one of the the main pieces of who I am now.
Wow.
So,
Wow. Well, we're glad we're a part of your
Thank you.
story. And while you have an unfortunate experience with your foster parent or foster situation, most foster parents, the vast majority of foster parents are wonderful people trying to do the right thing, trying to step in and take the load off the child welfare system, and most of all, to be an important part of a child's recovery. But in your experience, it was a little different than that.
yeah, just a little.
Yeah. So I want to talk to you a little bit more about what that experience felt like. But before I do, I want to talk a little bit about one of our newest additions to Hibiscus Children's Center, which is the Sanctuary for Kids home, which is in St. Lucie County. So we have a new 6-bed home. Is that right, Caroline?
Yeah, I just want to say, Chloe,
That's awesome.
thank you for sharing your story.
Absolutely.
And what we're doing now at the Sanctuary for Kids, it is an emergency shelter, but the model is slightly different. It's more of a safe haven or a soft landing for kids that get initially removed, whether it be from their home or with their guardian, or it could even be a placement disruption like you were talking about, like getting removed from a foster parent where things went horribly wrong. So that place is Sanctuary for Kids. It's a home. It's very warm. It's inviting. We have professionals working in the home that understand, just like at the shelter, they understand that trauma-informed care approach and are ready to facilitate that person coming in, that child, and offering them, compassion and nurturing, supportive environment.
Awesome.
So, Chloe, we try to tell people that we interact with what it must feel like when child welfare professionals have to get involved to remove a child from their home, or in your case, from a foster home. Can you tell our audience, what was that like? What were you feeling?
When they first came, it was the last day of school. I was excited. I got off the bus, went home. Probably not even 30 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. There was a uniformed officer with a caseworker, and that uniform of his actually, that already sent me into what is going on. So the caseworker came in and explained that we were gonna be removed from our home. And I was terrified. I was 10, I believe, at the time. So I was just like, what do you mean? Where are we going? They couldn't really give much info, but all I needed to hear was I'm being removed. And there was a little tussle getting our things together. My mom was obviously upset, but I was just still terrified about this officer taking us. So somehow the officer had stepped away from the door, and I ran. I was on the run for 2 weeks, and then someone called the cops and told them where I was at. But and at this point, my brother had already been placed in a care home. So I was placed in a home over here in Fort Pierce. And then once I got there, my foster mom, I thought it was gonna be this awesome thing. She was a nice church-going lady, went to church all the time, but it was all a facade. So that even deepened everything that was already going on. I lost my mom now. I lost my brother now. And at this point now, I'm with this lady that wears two
Faces.
Right. So it's like then I'm just a child that's known to the system now as a runner. They aren't thinking that I'm terrified. They just know that I'm a runner. So things that I'm telling them is going on is this church going foster lady word against mine. And it's like there's no way this lady put chains on the fridge. There's no way this lady smacks you guys. So, but that whole thing lasted for like 6 months or so, and then I got placed in a shelter where at first it was kind of rough because I was new and it was like a big place with just me.
Right.
And at the time, I felt like I was alone. But after time went by, the staff made me more comfortable and things started to get a lot better.
Wow. So this was a number of years ago, and I can still
Quite
hear the emotion in your voice.
I don't really, well, I didn't at the time talk about it. We had group therapy, but I wouldn't speak. We had individual therapy. They were so nice, but they wanted to know the only thing I had left. So I didn't openly share. They took my mom. They already took my brother.
Right.
So it was like the only thing left was my past, my secrets, my pain. Even
Right.
though it was hurtful, it was mine.
Right.
So I gave them a rough time, but they were awesome still.
Yeah. What does a rough time mean? And I'm glad you and I can sit here and smile. Again, we're trying to get our audience to understand and appreciate just how challenging this topic of child abuse really is. It's easy for a group of people to say, well, there's a system in place that protects children, and we know children are scared and intimidated, but we're going to care for them and take care of them and make things better. But as I'm listening to you, while all that good intentions were in place, you were struggling with the reality of how you were feeling.
Right. At the time, I was just angry, and talking really didn't do much for me, except for making me feel vulnerable. So I didn't want to talk, and because they were so diligent, they don't give up on you. So I'm like, okay, this is not working. What can I do to make them not want to talk to me? And I became destructive. I would lash out. I would just become a person that I thought no one wanted to talk to. They didn't want to deal with that child, but at the shelter, that's not the case. They were just such caring hearts, like the staff. I love them.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I think, Chloe, your story is so illuminating to even if our staff were listening to this show, because our whole trauma-informed care approach is basically like what you were talking about. Like, you experienced a traumatic event, multiple traumatic events, and you were hurting, you were in pain, and it was coming out in your behaviors, things you were doing, and then you were labeled like a runner, and they're not really looking at what happened to you. It's just what she's doing, and that's what comes out. And so I feel confident that our staff, we're trying to change that approach, that we see it more as what happened to you versus what's wrong with you.
Yeah, but with because they cared so much, that caused me to have to act even worse.
Yeah.
And I guess it was kind of like a test. That was one of few placements that they actually still saw me. That's actually why I eventually stopped. I became who I was supposed to be. But at the time, I was still angry because no one asked, why is she acting up? What's causing this straight A student to grades to drop? And they only saw that I would fight and I would act out in class and stuff. So, but at the shelter, they saw me as a child that's been abused. So,
Wow. Well, it's just so important that people like you, Chloe, have the strength of character to be able to tell your story. I know it's been many years since you were at the shelter, and you're a grown woman, and you're a success in the community, and you've recovered. And so it's been a thrill to watch how you've taken those bad circumstances in your life and turned it into something positive for yourself. Caroline, it's hard to follow that that conversation, because you and I, again, we work here, but we don't have that story that we've lived out. I am excited, though, that while we've got the shelter and while we have this new sanctuary for kids home in St. Lucie County, we also have another venue where we can take care of our teenage population. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So the village is where we provide shelter or residency to our teenagers ages 13 to 17. So the teenagers that go to the village, unfortunately, they have been in the system probably for a long time. They've had multiple placements. But at the village, we can offer them the mental health services just like the shelter, but we also have the Career Pathways program, which they are given the opportunity to go into an internship in the community and have a job, a paid job, and kind of explore what career they would like to work
that's
in.
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, even when I was in high school, I mean, you thought maybe this is what you wanted to be in your profession, but nobody really taught you like the ins and outs of that job, because maybe you went to college for it for 4 years and then you decided, hey, that's not what I want. So I think that program is so important. It's so great that the kids get that opportunity. They get a paid type of job, so they're happy. They got some money in their pocket. They feel like proud of themselves that they're doing something. And so even while they're getting treatment for their mental health issues or concerns, their trauma, they also get those other opportunities that eventually is going to transcend the trauma that they've experienced.
Well, that's important. And Chloe, what Caroline and I would like you to know is, as we think about career pathways and preparing kids for when they turn 18 and they have to leave the village, and most people may not understand that once a child reaches 18, they're no longer allowed to be residents of the village or Hibiscus Children's Center, so they have to go out into the community. And the good news is we do have programs in our community. A youth transition center is one example, where children who are in the foster care system who age out, which just means that they're no longer eligible to be in the village, they're now adults, so there's a place for them to live. But to us, it feels like we've abandoned them again.
Yeah.
And so, Chloe, what we're starting is a graphic design company to do a couple of things. One is, just as Caroline said, there are some kids who really want to learn a trade, and they want to learn something that can earn them a meaningful career going forward. And graphic design is a very high-tech job. It's a good paying job. And so it satisfies that issue. But for us, if I think about you, Chloe, you turning 18 at the village, and we're going to have to say goodbye to you. And you may not want to leave. You've become comfortable with us, but all of a sudden, I'm 18 and I have to leave. But if you worked for us at our graphic design center, you'd be coming back Monday as an employee. Isn't that neat?
That is pretty cool.
So we're excited about that program. We're starting it in the next several months. So we're in the planning stages now, but we're really excited about that opportunity. Chloe, I want to go back to the shelter.
Okay.
So when you entered the shelter, you mentioned the building itself. What did it feel like to go into this building? Caroline, you described it as a house, but my house, I can't fit 36 kids. So it's kind of a big place. So what did that feel like?
When I first entered, there was actually a few more kids that were like me, that were already residents. A few were younger. They were very active. So when I first walked in, all I saw was kids like running, ran by. Then like the staff called him and was like following him down. And I later learned that's his name.
Yeah.
So, but it was just like the number of kids being there, that kind of made it less shocking. But it was still like a little
Overwhelming.
It was, because it was really, really big. There was like staff everywhere. Then at the time, you guys have, I think it's called like the thinking room now.
Quiet room.
Quiet room. But at the time, it was the safety room.
Right.
So there was like a kid in there yelling like, "Run, go!" And I'm like, and we actually became friends later. But yeah, it was just really, really, it was a lot to process. On top of coming from that first placement, so like I'm still trying to deal with what happened there, and still deal with why I'm not home.
Right.
And now I'm in a new place. So it's like I still haven't had time to process everything that's happened.
Right. Well, the reason I asked the question is, we're super excited to share with our community that we started in Jensen Beach. That's where it all started for us. And so this big, large building that you're talking about that can be a little bit daunting to a child that's already traumatized. It's a beautiful facility, but it's a tired facility. We've been working out of it for over 30 years. What I've tried to remind our community, we've prepared over 1 million meals in that facility since we opened. And I don't know about your kitchen, but I don't know that mine would fare very well after the millionth time we cooked a hot dog or something. And so we're in the middle of a renovation project so that we can put a more child-friendly feel to the face of the building. And when children come in, it feels more like home. And we've done a lot of those things over the past 30 years, but like I said, it's a tired facility. And so we're super excited that we've got community support to begin renovating the facility so that when children do come, it will still be a big facility. There will still be children running around because that's what we want. We want them to feel comfortable. It's their home. And so while it might be a little overwhelming for a child coming in, we try as best we can to mitigate that trauma, that additional trauma. And the way you do that is make sure you have welcoming, caring staff, making sure that when a child sees the building for the first time, it looks like a place they want to go to. And when they open the doors, they feel like this feels like home. And so we think that's really important. And just listening to your story highlights just how important it is to make sure you've got the type of facility that a child can see that is a solution to the challenge they're going through rather than adding to the trauma that they're going through.
Right.
So, well, as we started out our program, we're here to talk about Child Abuse Prevention Month. And we want our audience to know that we need you in our community to be aware that child abuse exists in our community. The good news is Hibiscus Children's Center is here. We're serving children like Chloe. And Chloe, we're just thrilled that you have such a positive outlook on life and that while you've had some negative experiences in your life, you've been able to turn that around.
Prayer.
And prayer, yeah, that's exactly right. We're happy for you. We want you to have continued success. For our audience, we are following up today's show with a new video that helps you better understand Hibiscus Children's Center and the important work we're doing to eliminate child abuse in our community. Thank you so much for being partners with us.
Not that long ago, I learned something horrifying. 5 children die from child abuse and neglect every single day in the United States. I woke up one morning and said not another day is going to go by without me doing something about this. That's why I decided to support the Hibiscus Children's Center. Founded in 1985 by Levon Tilton, Hibiscus Children's Center is a safe haven for Florida's most vulnerable children and teens. Serving Florida's Treasure Coast, their mission is to provide safety and care for abused, abandoned, and neglected children. When a child has been removed from an abusive home, they are brought to Hibiscus for immediate care. Locations include the 24-hour Tilton Emergency Shelter, the Sanctuary for Kids House, or the Hibiscus Village for Teens. Many of these children arrive with meager possessions, and some have absolutely nothing to call their own. They are confused, traumatized, and have no idea who they can trust. Sometimes a child, teen, or infant will need the safety of Hibiscus for only a few hours, sometimes many years. I want you to know that this organization is staffed with the most incredible, compassionate professionals and volunteers. They work tirelessly 24/7 to ensure that every child is cared for like family. Every year, Hibiscus serves close to 2,000 children and teens, which includes more than 9,500 volunteer hours. Volunteers rock infants to sleep, help with homework, and become mentors to teenage residents. They also organize the most amazing community fundraising events and galas. Child abuse and neglect is pervasive in our community. It's literally right next door to some of us, which means the need in our community is greater than we realize. Since 1985, Hibiscus Children's Center has provided over 300,000 nights of safety and shelter to our most vulnerable population. Please support Hibiscus Children's Center. You can donate online anytime. You can volunteer or offer in-kind goods and services. You can also shop at the Treasure House, their wonderful thrift store and boutique located in Stuart. As we close, please join us in celebrating some important Hibiscus life moments as experienced by children, staff, and volunteers.